The first time she touched him, it wasn't romance. It was fear moving faster than thought, instinct louder than doubt, a moment that refused to wait for permission. Maya was pushing her janitor's cart through the lobby just before sunrise, the hour when the city felt unfinished. Outside, the sky was still unsure of itself, caught between night and morning. Inside, the building slept in polished silence. Marble floors reflected the ceiling lights so clearly they looked like still water. This was her favorite part of the day, the part no one noticed. No footsteps rushing. No voices talking down to her. Just the soft squeak of wheels, the smell of disinfectant, and her own breathing keeping pace with her hands. She had learned to love quiet because quiet didn't ask questions. Her shift always started early. It was the only way she could be home before her daughter woke up, the only way she could make breakfast, braid hair, pretend for a few minutes that life wasn't a constant calculation. She was humming something low and broken, a tune her mother used to sing while washing dishes, when she noticed a man standing near the elevators. At first, he didn't register as anything unusual. Men like him were everywhere in this building, tall, well-dressed, wrapped in coats that smelled expensive even from a distance. He had one hand braced against the wall, head slightly bowed, like someone catching his breath before a long day. Maya pushed her cart forward, eyes already moving past him, trained not to stare. Then his knees buckled. The sound his body made when it hit the floor wasn't loud, but it was wrong. It echoed in the vast lobby, sharp and final, like something breaking that couldn't be put back together easily. Maya stopped breathing. Her mop slipped from her hand. The bucket tipped, water spilling across the marble, spreading in a slow, careless wave. She didn't notice. She ran. "Sir." Her voice cracked the second she used it. She dropped to her knees beside him, ignoring the chill of the floor seeping through her pants. His face had gone pale, lips losing color fast. His chest moved, but not the way it should, short, uneven, like his body was forgetting the pattern. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck, her hands already shaking. A pulse. Weak. Slipping. The kind of pulse that doesn't promise anything. "Can you hear me?" she asked, louder now, as if volume could pull him back. His eyes fluttered but didn't focus. Then they rolled back, and his chest stilled. Panic slammed into her so hard it made her dizzy. She looked around the lobby, suddenly too big, too empty. The security desk was unmanned. The elevators were frozen between floors. The building that always felt powerful now felt useless. "Help!" she shouted. Her voice bounced off glass and stone, came back to her thin and mocking. "Please, someone." No answer. For a split second, doubt surged up, sharp and paralyzing. She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't security. She was just a janitor, a woman who cleaned after other people's lives. She wasn't supposed to touch tenants. She wasn't supposed to be involved in anything beyond trash and stains. Then she saw his lips turning blue. Something inside her went quiet. The fear didn't disappear. It lined up, got out of the way. She placed her hands on his chest where memory told her to, thinking of a community center classroom from years ago, folding chairs and a plastic dummy with a cracked face. She'd almost skipped that CPR class because she was tired, because her daughter had been sick the night before. She remembered the instructor's voice more than the words. Firm. Repetitive. Insistent. She started compressions. 1, 2, 3. She counted out loud because it kept her from screaming. Her arms burned almost immediately, muscles protesting the force she was using. She leaned into it anyway, sweat breaking out along her hairline. Still nothing. She tilted his head back, the way she'd been taught, her fingers slick with fear. She hesitated only for the space of a heartbeat, aware of how this would look if someone walked in. A janitor kissing a powerful man on the floor of a luxury building. The thought tried to stop her. She didn't let it. She sealed her mouth over his and blew air into lungs that refused to listen. Once. Twice. Again. The taste startled her, blood and mint, metal and something clean. Her eyes stung, but she didn't pull away. She went back to compressions, counting louder now, begging his body to remember itself. Her arms felt like they might give out. Her back screamed. Time stretched and warped until she couldn't tell if she'd been there for seconds or minutes. All she knew was that she couldn't stop. Not now. Not when she was the only thing standing between him and nothing. Then he gasped. It was sudden, violent, like his body had been yanked back from somewhere dark without warning. He coughed, choking on air, eyes flying open wide and wild. Maya stumbled backward, landing hard on the floor, her heart hammering so fast she thought she might pass out. "You're okay," she said, though she wasn't sure who she was trying to convince. "You're breathing. Just stay still." His hand shot out and grabbed her sleeve, fingers digging in with surprising strength. Not ownership. Not demand. Just fear. Just a need to stay connected to the thing that had pulled him back. Security arrived moments later, voices sharp, radios crackling. Someone knelt beside him. Someone else asked Maya questions all at once. An ambulance siren wailed somewhere far too late. She answered automatically, words tumbling out without shape. She watched as they lifted him onto a stretcher, as oxygen masked his face, as life settled back into his body in careful increments. As they wheeled him away, his eyes found hers again. He tried to speak, failed, then nodded, slow, deliberate, like a promise he hadn't figured out how to keep yet. And then he was gone. The lobby felt wrong without him, like the air had been rearranged. Maya stared at the spilled water, the fallen mop, the quiet proof that something irreversible had happened. Her hands shook so badly she pressed them together, trying to ground herself. She didn't get to fade back into the background. 2 guards escorted her to a small office tucked behind the public spaces. The lights were too bright. The chair was hard. They asked her name, her shift, why she was there so early. One of them wrote everything down without looking at her face. When she explained what she'd done, the room went uncomfortably quiet. "You're not medical staff," one guard said carefully. "I know," Maya replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "But he was dying." They let her go after what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Outside, the sky was fully awake now, the city moving as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Maya walked home with aching arms and a heart that wouldn't slow down, replaying every second, every choice. By the time she reached her apartment, her daughter was still asleep, one arm thrown over a worn stuffed bear. Maya watched her breathe for a long moment, grounding herself in that simple rise and fall. She didn't know it yet, but that morning had already stepped far beyond the lobby. And it wasn't done with her. He didn't stand when she entered the room. He didn't rush, didn't fill the space with power the way men like him usually did. He sat by the wide glass window, morning light cutting across his face, the city stretching endlessly behind him. For a moment, Maya wondered if he recognized her at all or if she was just another employee pulled into a room too big for her. Then his eyes softened. "Maya," he said quietly, like saying her name was important enough to slow down for. Her breath caught. She nodded, hands folding together out of habit, grounding herself. "My supervisor said you wanted to see me." "I did." He gestured to the chair across from him, not commanding, just open. "Please. Sit." She sat on the edge, posture careful, ready to apologize for something she wasn't sure she'd done wrong. The silence between them felt different from the one in the lobby. This one was warm, attentive, waiting. "I'm Daniel," he said. "And before anything else, I need you to know there's no trouble here. No complaints. No legal questions hiding behind this door." Something unclenched in her chest, just a little. "I remember the floor," he continued. "The lights. The sound of my own breathing disappearing. And then I remember you." Maya lowered her eyes, unsure where to look when someone talked about her like that. "You didn't hesitate," Daniel said. "That's what stays with me. You saw a stranger and decided his life mattered more than your comfort." She swallowed. Anyone would have done the same. He shook his head gently. "They didn't. You did." He asked her to tell the story again, but this time without urgency, without alarms or guards interrupting. She spoke slowly, describing the quiet morning, the fear, the way her body moved before her thoughts could stop it. She admitted how scared she'd been afterward, how she'd gone home wondering if she'd ruin her life by trying to save someone else's. Daniel listened the way people rarely listen to her, eyes focused, body still, no signs of impatience. When she finished, he leaned back slightly, exhaling. "I've been surrounded by people my whole life," he said. "Assistants, executives, advisors. But when my heart stopped, none of them were there. You were." The words didn't feel dramatic. They felt honest. He told her about waking up in the hospital, about the strange clarity that came with realizing how close he'd been to disappearing without leaving anything truly human behind. How success had insulated him, not protected him. How he'd built systems for everything except connection. "I asked to see you," he said, "because I didn't want this moment to turn into a story people tell for me. I wanted it to stay real." She nodded slowly. She understood that instinct more than he knew. They talked longer than she expected. About her daughter and the way she liked pancakes cut into small squares. About how Maya cleaned offices at night before switching to mornings. About the way she planned every week down to the hour just to survive it. Daniel didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix anything right away. When he did speak again, his voice was steady. I'd like to offer you a different role in the building. One that works with your schedule, not against it. Training included. No pressure. Maya blinked. Why? Because people who act when it matters are rare, he said. And because I want this place to reflect that. She didn't answer immediately. She thought of her daughter. Of mornings rushed and nights too tired. Of how close everything always felt to falling apart. Finally, she nodded. Okay. The change wasn't loud. It didn't arrive with applause. It arrived in small ways. Keys that opened doors she'd never entered before. Meetings where her voice was invited instead of tolerated. Paychecks that let her breathe without counting coins twice. She still worked hard, but the work no longer erased her. Daniel changed too, though fewer people noticed at first. He started arriving early, walking the building before the rush, learning names instead of just faces. He asked questions and waited for answers. He listened when people spoke, even when the answers complicated things. Sometimes, he and Maya crossed paths in the lobby where it all began. They'd share a quiet coffee, standing near the spot that had rewritten both their lives. They didn't talk about that morning much. They didn't need to. It lived between them, steady and grounding. Trust grew slowly, the way real things do. Not because of gratitude or obligation, but because they saw each other clearly. Daniel saw a woman who didn't look away when it was easier to. Maya saw a man willing to let a moment change him instead of burying it. When the story eventually surfaced, it wasn't explosive. No scandals. No exaggerated myths. Just the truth, told plainly. A janitor saved a man's life. A man chose to honor that by changing how he lived. People talked for a while, then moved on. Maya didn't. Neither did Daniel. One evening, months later, they stood by the window again, city lights glowing beneath them like constellations. The building hummed softly around them, alive and full. Do you ever think about how close it was? Maya asked. All the time, Daniel replied. It reminds me not to rush past what matters. She smiled, small but real. For the first time, the future didn't feel like something she had to brace for. It felt open. They didn't know exactly where the path would lead. They only knew how it had begun, with a choice, a breath, a refusal to walk away. And that was enough to keep moving forward.